WIX Filters has joined us on the road to AAPEX in the past, and they're joining us again this season. But where am I? What does this beautiful place have to do with oil filtration? I'll tell you that next. So prior to 1923, most engines did not have an oil filter, surprisingly. They either had no oil filter or they used a kind of mesh screen to filter out oil. Of course, that didn't do a very good job of that. After 1923, you would find an oil canister-type filter. That meant it had some material inside of it that would help filter out the oil. That had to be disassembled. The media had to be replaced and it had to be cleaned out every time you did an oil change. It wasn't until the 1950s that the spin-on oil filter that we're well familiar with now was introduced. Still, even after 1950s, some cars didn't have an oil filter up until the 1970s, like this Volkswagen behind me. Pretty surprising, isn't it? But who invented that spin-on filter? We'll find out in this episode of Road to AAPEX. This season on the Road to AAPEX, we're outside of Charlotte and Gastonia at the WIX manufacturing facility, getting a little bit of an inside look on how oil filters are made. Kind of a cool thing. Joining me from WIX is Daryl. Daryl, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do here at WIX.
Sure, Joe. Hey, thanks for coming out. My name is Daryl Benton. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the aftermarket here in North America.
We're focusing on an oil filter today, but we know WIX covers just about everything filtration under the sun.
That's right. So, at WIX, we sell filters for lawnmowers to locomotives. So we have a very, very wide range of products to fit all kinds of mechanical applications. So.
And you got a really large manufacturing facility. How many people are employed here?
We employ about 600 people, making all kinds of filters, from oil filters to air filters and cabin air filters. Multiple different types of filters are made here, from light duty to heavy duty. Bit of everything.
It's a really neat to be able to see the behind the scenes of, we see it on the shelf already, but it's going to be a little different to see how it starts off. And you guys make everything. You start off from scratch and it goes all the way through.
Absolutely. And so, one of the things I hope that you'll see is that the technology that actually goes into making filters is more complex than one might think from the outside. So really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, this sounds great. Let's go down and see how they're made.
Sounds good.
Daryl, this is the start of the process of building an oil filter. What do we got going on here?
Yeah, so Joe, I think I mentioned to you that one of the things that's surprisingly, in a filter that looks surprisingly simple, is the technology that goes into it.
Yeah.
One of the most important pieces of that technology is actually the filter media, which is on these rolls here.
And so this machine's making it?
No, this machine actually is folding the media.
Oh, okay.
And we call pleating it.
Okay.
So that you get more surface area on that filter media inside the billboard.
And this is really what is filtering out the oil inside the actual finished product.
That is correct. The oil flows through the filter media, and that's what captures all of the dust and other debris that might be inside that may have come up your engine.
Yeah. We're another part of the process. What's going on here?
We are. So actually, after the filter media is pleated, it goes through this oven where it gets cured. Then it comes here, and those green marks show where it's supposed to be cut so that it fits the right amount of media into that specific filter. And this is an automatic cutting machine here that then cuts the media into the appropriate size for the filter.
I'll make sure to keep my hands away from that.
Yeah. Good idea.
What's next?
So these ladies are putting the filter media into the seaming machine that then actually connects the filter media so that it forms that circle that's where the oil flows through.
This is what you were saying after it comes out
right
of the seaming machine. Now we've got the actual
Yeah, so after it comes out of the sieving machine and the filter media is all connected here, then we put a center tube into that media before it starts to get connected to the base plate and the other pieces that go into the...
And that keeps it from obviously falling apart inside. That's what she's doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of steps along the way so far.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's see what's next.
What's next? All right, so Joe, this machine actually is a part of what is making the element. And it attaches the filter media and that center tube to an end plate. And then on the other side, after it's attached on one end, it flips it over and attaches the other side so that there is plates on both sides of that filter media.
Okay.
So that it becomes sturdy. There's a chemical that's inside of a base plate there that's called plastisol, that when it's heated, as this machine does, it becomes really hard and firm and then holds that filter media in place.
Excellent.
So now, Joe, we have a completed filter element. And that filter element goes through another process where it's got that final seal of the end caps on both ends before it is assembled into the completed filter.
Pretty neat.
These are the end caps that have been attached to the filter can.
Yeah, the oil mount, yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that happens is this machine actually tests the end caps to make sure that the threads are the right size so that they fit the applications that they're going into.
Yeah, so now we're really starting to see it almost completed.
That's right.
And we got, sometimes things happen, right?
Quality challenges happen. And that's why we have machines that help us to weed out any quality issues. And also we have eyes on
you got
work in the plant.
human eyes on it.
Yeah.
Constantly checking it as you go along.
Yeah. What she's doing here is actually putting this coiled spring on top of the filter. And as the coil comes into the filter, it wants to push that filter element around, and that spring helps to keep it in place.
Okay.
Inside the can. And so you can see as the can elements are put on top of the filter with the spring in place, keeping everything secure as it moves into the next part of the process where it seals that base plate with the filter element inside to the can. So this machine then takes that base plate and the can and seals them together. Sealed, and also so that it stays together and doesn't leak and that the oil stays inside.
And this is obviously a really important part because we don't want to develop a leak right around here.
That's right.
That wouldn't be good for anybody.
Not for anybody. Certainly not for us.
Yeah. But it's now starting to look like what we have, on our engine.
Yeah. So we've talked quite a bit already about some of the quality steps in the process. And this is one where it's a leak test to make sure that it lives up to the pressure that's going to be inside the engine that this filter is used on.
So every filter is tested.
Every filter is tested.
Wow.
For leaks. Or for
That's an important step.
Yeah. So, as you can see, Joe, with these unbranded filters at this point, what this machine does is it washes the cans, so it pre-treats them so that they can be painted in the next step of the process. Now that the cans have been washed, they need to be dried. This oven dries the can.
Yeah.
And from here, they go into that paint booth.
Oh, yeah.
After each can goes through the paint process, it goes through a dryer so that the paint doesn't...
Almost like a heat lamp.
Yes, that's
to
right.
really dry that paint quickly.
Yeah, so here's where all of that critical information is printed onto these cans.
Part number,
UPC,
WIX, obviously.
logo.
Yeah.
All of the things that make this something that is now sellable at the end of this.
Very neat.
And so then after that printing is done with the
Curing
all
it
of
right
our
now.
information is cured again. Yes. This step of the process is where it puts that gasket that has its seal to the machine that it's on.
Okay.
When you do it's installed properly. Each one of these, so that it seals properly to the machine, when you turn it on and install it properly, requires that it has this gasket, so it creates that proper seal.
Yeah. Hey, little tech tip, make sure you remove the old one before installing a new filter. You're going to have a problem.
Oh, yeah. And we have a finished filter.
Wow. But it's still warm.
So now that we've seen the finished filter and the shrink wrap and all of that, one of the most important parts for me as a marketing guy is actually putting it into the branded container that our customers buy, and that's what they put on their shelves. And that's what folks are looking for when they're shopping for the WIX filter.
Now it's ready to go.
Now it's ready to go.
It's going to be shipped up and it's been mocked up, distributed out to all of your wonderful suppliers that you deal with.
That's right. So it's gone through the manufacturing process, a bunch of quality checks along the way, and it is ready for use.
It was really awesome to be able to go step by step to see how all of those separate parts came together here in Gastonia to make the common spin on oil filter that millions of people use every day around the world. Really interesting stuff. Coming up next, Daryl's going to take us to the WIX Filters headquarters to tell us about WIX's 85 years of providing filtration to the automotive aftermarket. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
Looking for a refreshing change? Say goodbye to sluggish performance and reach for the one that won't slow you down. Experience the force of clean, pure oil. WIX Premium Filters. Performance starts here.
Since 1927, AP Emissions has been your source for complete exhaust innovation. We're your one-stop shop for the exhaust brands you know and the quality you trust. Visit apemissions.com.
Introducing Nexa Motion Group, a family born to unite the most innovative businesses and brands in the automotive aftermarket. Here at NMG, we're not just changing the game, we're revolutionizing it by bringing together TranStar Industries and top auto care experts. We're committed to delivering everything you need for aftermarket success, from top-notch parts distribution to a cutting-edge e-commerce platform. Moving forward, with the Nexa Motion Group, where cutting-edge innovation unites with exceptional service and quality products.
Our recent purchase with Hunter was based on the fact that our old alignment machine lasted for 24 years, and I was very satisfied with that equipment, so when it was time to upgrade, I felt no need to shop around. I stuck with Hunter because that was tried and true.
The entire weight of today's vehicle is supported on a surface smaller than a credit card, inside the wheel hub assembly. With so much riding on it, why would you use something other than OE quality replacement parts? OE quality, premium product. BCA bearings by NTN.
We want to talk a little bit about the history of WIX. You know, we know that you guys started 85 years ago. Talk a little bit about the history of WIX and how you guys started off and where you're at now.
Yeah, 1939.
Cars were
WIX was
different,
founded.
way different back then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the really great things about WIX is that it's the inventor of the spin-on oil filter.
Most people don't know the history of oil filters, that spin-on filters were not really developed until the 1950s.
Right.
So you guys were in the forefront of that.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. In fact, you think about what happened in the original vehicles back there. They weren't really filtering the oil at all, and so it's a discovery that happened over time, and it's really a critical, important now feature in all of vehicles to make sure that they're running and that they're safe and that you get the most out of your engine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to have proper filtration, especially in today's tight clearances on these engines. So why would somebody choose WIX? Tell me why choose WIX.
Yeah, so there are quite a few reasons to choose WIX. One, you mentioned 85 years, and it's a heritage of making the best products in filtration in the world. And then also, we have the widest range of products that are available. I think I mentioned before that, WIX makes filters for lawnmowers to locomotives, and everything in between. And that's a big part of what makes WIX so special, is that we can do virtually any kind of filtration that any kind of an engine needs.
And you guys cover a lot, like you said, just different segments: agricultural, heavy duty, automotive, all of that.
industrial,
Yeah.
heavy equipment, pretty much everything is available within the WIX portfolio.
So how is WIX evolving and adapting to, say, the EV market and the hybrids? I know you guys got to be running through a little bit of change with that market changing so much.
Yeah, so I'll mention a few things about that. So one, with our outstanding engineering team, as well as our product management team, we're on top of all of the new applications and make sure that we are prepared for what's coming in terms of vehicle needs. And then also, especially when you think about EVs and whatever the propulsion system is of the future, there are a few things that are going to be always critically important. And one certainly is the health and wellness of the people inside.
We're talking cabin filters.
And so cabin air filters is a big part of what we do and how we prepare for the future.
Yeah, so not just oil filters, we're talking air filters, cabin filters. You guys cover a big segment of all of the maintenance that car needs.
That's right. And even with EVs, there are other things like transmission fluid filters and coolant filters and things like that are going to be still critically important for EVs.
Yeah, and that's really important to bring that up because most people don't understand that an EV still has some maintenance that's going to be needed. It's just because there's no internal combustion engine, there are still things that WIX can help that EV customer in their vehicle.
Yes.
Excellent. So for those on the road to AAPEX, how does WIX Filters help vehicles that are traveling, all the way to Vegas or people put a lot of miles on their cars. So how does filtration help?
As you are well aware, Joe, regular maintenance on your vehicle is critical to keep it running at top condition, and also, again, to make sure that the passengers and occupants inside the vehicle are breathing the freshest air. Filtration is a very, very important part of that. It helps to ensure that things run smoothly.
So talk about what's the biggest change in filtration you've seen since you've been a part of WIX?
You mentioned something earlier around the tight tolerances in vehicles and the changing in the fluid and oil viscosities, the drivetrains and what the propulsion systems are for vehicles. That just continues to evolve. And so it's really, really critically important that we evolve with that and that we have the right technology going into the filters for those tight tolerances. Also that we're dealing with the challenges in air quality and forest fires and everything that comes along with that with cabin air filtration, and that we are continuing to develop and engineer products that are not just for now, but for the future.
Perfect. So here in North Carolina, how many facilities do we have? We're in the headquarters. How many facilities do you guys have around here?
Yeah, so for filtration products in North Carolina, we have 3 manufacturing plants.
All here?
In North Carolina, 2 distribution facilities, and this headquarters office.
Perfect. So WIX has this is one of my favorite things to talk about. You guys got a strong history of being in racing. And you were a big sponsor to somebody who I've personally met, and I'm a big fan of the King, Richard Petty. Talk about your relationship with racing and how does that help you guys learn as a company today's technology that can go in just a regular passenger car?
Yeah. So I think that there are a few things about that. One of the plants that we have here in North Carolina is a pilot plant, a prototype plant, and in that plant, actually, we make the majority of the filters that go into NASCAR vehicles. Yeah. So when you see the hood go up in the NASCAR vehicles, oftentimes you see a WIX logo underneath the hood, and that is because we make and provide the filters often in this specialty plant that we do that with. It's also where we develop products, other new products and new applications, testing and things like that. But one of the things I'm most excited about in 2024 is that we're back at the Indy 500. In fact, at the Indy 500, we sponsored 2 racers, Brian Hunter-Reay and Connor Daly. And in addition, we had media buy around it, a new commercial that aired during the Indy 500, and other sponsorship features around the race on television.
So much fun.
It was great. It was a great event. and it was also a place where we could, entertain and bring in some of our distributors and customers to give them a great IndyCar experience.
One thing I found out that I thought was really interesting and really good to hear is about your North American plants and how they are going to no type of zero landfill. You guys are doing something good for the environment. Explain what you guys have done to your plants that is really good for everybody.
That's a great question. And actually, I want to share with you a couple of things. So WIX is a part of a bigger global company that does filtration, that helps to deliver cleaner air, cleaner water, cleaner transportation, and cleaner industry. And so one of the great things about working in a company like this is that you can't really do a lot, hit the environmental targets that many businesses want to hit without filtration. And so we have to live up to that ourselves. And
Sure.
so one of the most important things that we're doing is making sure that we are landfill free and that everything is either reused, recycled, none of it goes into the landfill.
So WIX's first president, LGA Alexander, used to say, if looking back helps us get to the future, then it's a good thing for the business. Now, what is WIX what's the future heading for WIX? Where are you guys heading right now?
As I mentioned, WIX, we have to be prepared with engineering, with product management, with marketing to be ahead of what's coming. And so as we make sure that our filter technology, that it changes along with the way that vehicles and engines are changing, that we have the right applications at the right time, and that we are bringing new things and innovations into the market that will help to maintain both the relevance and importance as well as the impact that filters have on the vehicles and on the world.
On the road to AAPEX, I have a lot of technicians and a lot of shop owners who watch this show. Explain to them, how can they, as a company or a technician, use WIC products and make some profit in their shop? How's that help them?
Yeah, so in pretty much any business, the best way to make profit is to give the best value to your customers, and there's not going to be a better value in filtration than WIX. And so in terms of the performance of the WIX filters, the consistency and quality, as well as we offer it at a fair price that makes it so that it creates that value that's there for the customers of these technicians and repair shops.
So Daryl, I know the WIX company is a strong advocate of right to repair. Talk about why you guys are advocates for right to repair, as am I, by the way.
For this industry, the independent aftermarket, it is absolutely critical that we give drivers, vehicle owners, the ability to choose where and how their vehicles are repaired. And so, with that in mind, for all of us who are in the aftermarket, making sure that we are supporting legislation, contacting our representatives so that they are actually ensuring that people have a choice about where they can
make that phone call. Making that phone call. Thank you, Daryl, for that history lesson. Next, we head back to the Babcox studio garage with a finished WIX oil filter. My colleague Eric is going to install it on a customer's vehicle. We'll be right back.
Buckle up, AAPEX attendees. Looking for OE performance in your automotive aftermarket parts? Continental delivers. Our comprehensive aftermarket program matches OE standards, including our OE Technology Series belts. This ensures technicians can install our belts, hoses, tensioners, and timing kits with confidence. Continental, we know OE because we are OE. Aftermarket Armor introduces a bed liner that has a 4-hour pot life, which is twice as long as the competition, giving you the needed time to complete the job. A proprietary formulated product giving you the best UV resistance, protecting your vehicle from sun fade for years to come. Find out more at aftermarketarmor.com.
Leading is about more than just having advanced technology. It's about understanding and fulfilling our customers' needs at every step of the journey. We take pride in being more than just a supplier. We are your partners in progress.
We are MPA, Motor Car Parts of America, a global manufacturer of light and heavy-duty rotating electric, brake parts, wheel hubs and bearings, turbochargers, and electrical component testing. MPA, the global leader for parts and solutions.
long before we had disposable air filters like most of today's cars do, they were dominated much earlier with an oil bath filter, which was very different, and that was commonly used up until 1950. So the filter was actually soaked in oil and it had an oil bath in here. That oil helped capture and trap the larger debris from getting into the engine. Now remember, the roads back then weren't great. Very dusty, very dirty. So the oil bath was the solution to filtering out all of that dirt from getting into the engine. Yeah, it was a dirty job to clean these. Usually you would have to take the filter out, it'd be cleaned with kerosene, new oil added, and of course, most of the shops would make the new guys do that job. Hey, I had a really good time getting behind the scenes at WIX and watching an oil filter be assembled. Talk about a little bit of a process, and of course there were a lot of good people involved in making that. You know, one thing that Daryl talked about that wasn't caught on camera that I thought was really interesting is when we were doing the pleating and he was showing me the pleating, he goes, you know, a lot of oil filter manufacturers will talk about how many pleats they have in their filter. He said that's great and all, but if the actual material can't filter out as much as what WIX can do, then it's a waste of pleating and unnecessary advertisement talking about how much pleating they have. But so today, what we're going to be doing is an oil change on a 2020 Ford Escape. We know it's due for an oil change because the oil life monitor system has illuminated on the dash and has told our customer that it is time to change the oil. Now, they don't have a sticker in their window because these vehicles and a lot of the newer ones with these oil life monitor systems, they decide when you will need an oil change. And that will be based on temperature of the vehicle, temperature outside, load on the vehicle. It's constantly monitoring a lot of things to determine how much you're driving and how severe it has been. Most people will say, I've been driving normal. Well, again, the environment you drive in and the environment you live in can make you a severe driver. You got to remember, it's important to change your oil. This is something we don't want to overlook. There's not a technician out there in the industry that hasn't opened up an engine, seen the amount of sludge that has built up, and will agree with you that you've been changing your oil regularly. What will happen is all the lubrication properties of that oil, if you're not changing it, kind of turns into a black, sticky sludge tar, and what it starts to do is block all of your oil passages, preventing it from getting it where it needs to be. Eventually, it can even clog up the oil filter. Now, thankfully, oil filters today have a bypass valve built into them. So if it gets clogged, what will happen is that bypass valve will initiate and no longer allow anything to come through that filter. Now, doing an oil change on a 2020 Ford Escape is relatively simple. You do have a belly pan that you're going to need to remove. Most vehicles today have a lot of these in place now, so it's no exception to this one as well. Of course, we're going to drain the oil. We will replace the oil filter with a brand new WIX filter. And of course, then we'll reinstall that belly pan. Eric's going to add the oil to specifications and reset that oil monitor so the vehicle knows that the oil has been changed. So thanks, Eric. The customer is all set and ready to hit the road. You know what? I'm hoping what they're going to be doing is hitting the road to AAPEX. Maybe I'll get to see them there at the Venetian Expo and the Caesars Forum in Las Vegas, November 5th through the 7th. Hopefully I will. We'll see you guys there.